Jesus. What's going on, y'all? Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 6, The Reunion Part 3. Now, let me tell you something. They dragged this reunion out so damn long, especially this Part 3, just as long as they dragged out this whole damn season. I'm sitting here for the second time. I should have watched this shit, paused at the commercial break, recorded, continue watching, paused at the commercial break like I used to do because I'm sitting here rewatching this shit trying to see that I missed something, girl. Y'all, this shit was it was okay. I could have dealt with it, but it was just too damn long. Like some stuff we didn't even really need to hear about. But you know, the first part, let's get into it. Because it was an hour and a half reunion part 3. And then they doing a little Portia segment. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I don't know if I'm gonna include it in this video depending on how long this is. So brace yourself, y'all. I warned you. But it starts off with them showing clips about Nene and Kenya's relationship. And we already know that they don't get along nowadays. And basically, Nene was saying that Kenya was never a friend of hers. Kenya was saying that one main reason why Nene didn't like Marlo was because Marlo was shooting with her, and all of a sudden she was friends. And then remember in the season when Marlo was telling Kenya about the three-way conversation that they had, her, Marlo, and Cynthia had on the phone about not shooting with Kenya or something like that. Kenya brought that up. Kenya brought up some text messages and shit. Let me just tell you this. Whenever it comes to Nene, especially Nene, Kenya gonna have them goddamn receipts. Kenya pulled out that motherfucking phone. Fuck all the bullshit that Kenya does. That bitch had receipts, okay? She was reading that text message like, okay, on this moment, at this time, word for word, you can be friends with Kenya, but if you're gonna film with her, just know that you're not gonna film with me. I was like, damn, okay, Kenya, I see you on that one. You got to back your shit up. Don't ever delete your text messages. I ain't ever delete mine too. So I could bust some people out and be like, no, bitch, this is what you sent me at 11:43 a.m. on May the 2nd. Yeah, 2013. Yeah, all right. You know, Kenya did some shit like that, and I was like, oh, okay. So basically, they going back and forth. Nene just loud as shit, and basically like the reason why her and Kenya is not friends is not because not the reason why her and Marlo is not friends is not because of Kenya. These motherfuckers in here. Anyway, saying that they're not friends no more because of shit, other stuff, and then, you know, saying her and Kenya was never really friends, and then Cynthia chimed in to say exactly what happened and to back up people's stories, you know, and at one point throughout the shit, Cynthia came up here. I was like, what you there for? Because you was kind of quiet a little bit. But, you know, Kenya and Nene was going back and forth basically the whole first part. And let me just tell you something. I don't remember what Nene says to Kenya. Nene said something about, oh yeah, let's be, because Kenya kept on saying, bye Felicia, bye Felicia. I was like, bitch, say that one more time. We always like, say that one more time. I'm tired of it. She said it like 50 different times on this reunion part. Bye Felicia, bye Felicia. And then Nene was like, please, let's be fucking original. And then Nene, not Nene, but Kenya said, original, at least my gums are original. I like the fucking died. And then after that, they go into, because they was talking about the Bailey Bowl. And, you know, they was talking about, this is where all this came up at. And basically talking about how the reason why she didn't want to talk about it was because it wasn't the time and the place. That's why she didn't want to talk to Marlo. And she just felt like Ken kept on egging it on and egging it on. And it wasn't the time and the place. Okay, I can understand that. But then they started talking about, if you go to the first part, the second part of the reunion at the end when Mama Joyce was on there, Nene did say she never wrote anything about Mama Joyce and Candy and their situation or whatever. But then, kind of find out she did write something in her blog talking about she walked away from the incident that happened at the Baby Bowl because she wasn't going to be the person that's going to be like Mama Joyce and drag people out in the street and stuff like that. Or whatever the fuck she said. So Andy asked if Candy felt some type of way about that. Candy, of course, felt, she was being disrespectful by calling her mama out and trying to say that her mama was basically gutter and trash or whatever. I mean, for us, we probably were like, yeah, your mama is that because, that's how your mama is. But we don't know her personally. And we don't know Candy and we don't associate with them and we haven't been around them. So I understood the frustration that Candy was in and how Candy would get upset when it's somebody that you associate with and who's been around your mother and once had some type of relationship with your mother to say some mess like that, to even imply it or to, use her as an example. I get that. And that's why Candy got pissed off. And Nene was like, yeah, I said it. Now, see, this is the only thing that I can respect Nene about on some things. Nene did deny that she wrote that. And she wasn't going to back down and apologize for it. I was like, okay, you standing your ground, but you doing a little bit too much. Humble your motherfucking self. She was like, yeah, I said it. I was like, no, you won't want nobody up here talking about your people. She was like, why would I want to get into a brawl when my son is there and all this stuff? And Candy was like, that's fine as well, but you don't have to put my mother in it. And he was like, you hit below the belt for some things. He was like, you do stuff that you don't want people to do to you, that you don't like to be done to yourself. And why bring up my mom and I don't bring up anybody in your family? He was like, I don't care if I'm not even cool with you. If it's not being displayed on show, if it hasn't already been brought up, I'm not going to bring it up. And I respect Candy for that. Because if you go back, Candy don't do that shit. But, Nene just was like, fuck it, bitch, what you want me to do? She was like, I said what I said, and that's it. And then Candy was like, well, bitch, what you said was bullshit. Now, see, Candy was the only bitch besides Kenya who actually stood up to Nene. Kenya tried, and Kenya had some shots in. And every time Kenya tried to go at Nene, I was kind of here for it. That gun thing, girl, that shit laid me out. But Kenya sometimes falters. Candy kind of stood in her ground, like she stood firm, and she did not back the fuck down. I was like, okay, that's what you need. That's what the fuck you need. So after that, they asked Kenya about, they brought up the Saving Our Daughters event, the charity, and Nene and their issue, and then Nene apologized for the way that she spoke at the event, and she was like, being all haughty toddy, patootie booty, unhumble and everything, and just sarcastic. I did say something, apology. You can go look at it on the blog on bravotv.com. That's oh, I didn't apologize. I was like, stop that. Nene, that whole shit, that whole bit is just irking me. And then they go into, she was like this, going to this speech. I shouldn't have said that because I don't want people, make an example for the young girls so that they won't be manipulated and all this stuff and yada, yada, yada. I was like, Mimi, shut the fuck up. Okay? You're just doing a little bit too much. And then, they tried to come at Kenya about the event and say that, because y'all remember during the season when it first came out, the Saving Our Daughters, they tried to release a statement saying that Kenya didn't give the money or was only gave $500 or something like that. And I'm like, why would you put that out and not put out the full story where they retracted that statement, as Kenya said, and we all know, and it came out that Kenya once again had her receipts as to what she gave, and that they got the money and that they received the money. And like Kenya said, it was people from that charity event, that particular charity, that was there collecting the money and all that stuff, so it was not up to her, some shit like that. But the fact of the matter is, we all know the whole story about the Saving Our Daughters. And at that time, they wasn't even a real charity because they was on the IRS fraud or some shit that they was doing. They was operating illegally. So if you're going to tell the whole story, if you're going to bring up something, Andy Cohen, bring up the whole story and don't just try to make one person look worse than the other, all right? They all making themselves look bad at this point. They doing fine on their own. But look, let's bring out the facts, okay? I just wasn't here for that, and y'all know I ain't really here for Kenya, but let's bring out the facts, okay? Don't try to downplay what she did. And then, Nene was like, Nene was like, okay, since you want to have a charity event, there really wasn't a charity event for me. Let's do this. I donate $20,000. I will match whatever, if you can match whatever I put out for any of your charities. Name one charity. I will give you $20,000, and I want you to match that. You may put $20,000 out of your bank. Kenya kind of got quiet. I know I ain't the only one that's noticed that. Kenya kind of got quiet a little minute, and then she was like, okay. She did it again. Okay. And I was like, wait a minute, Kenya, are you calculating in your head what's going on in your bank? Because Ashley would have been like, hell no. 20,000, no bitch, you can give me that 20,000 and I'll fucking make it do what it do, And she was like, Kenya just went on ahead and said, that's fine. And then at the end, she named the charity that she wanted her to donate. And I was like, okay, don't write a check that your ass can't cash, can't get. But, she was trying to play ball with Nene and trying to save face. Now, I don't think Kenya is broke, but, it is what it is. Then they started talking about something where I guess when Kenya read the shit, everybody seen that blog right after that episode when Kenya did read the shit out of fucking Nene and her attitude and basically saying that, she come from nothing, that she was a stripper and, she only had a few failed acting gigs and stuff like that. And every time somebody asked a question about, Andy asked somebody a question about it, here go Nene, what you mean? I never worked a day in my life. I just had a few failed acting gigs. Talking about Cynthia being very sarcastic. And it's not cute. It was draining. It was like, stop it, girl. And Candy asked they asked Candy because Cynthia was like, I think it was very arrogant for her to say the shit about her being, us not being on the same level, regardless of how many jobs you had or what you've done in your life and how much you accomplished. You may have accomplished more than me, but we are on the same level. And like Kenya said, we all on this damn same couch. And all I needed was Candy to get up there and say, bitch, you ain't... if anybody, none of you hoes is on the same level as me, bitch, okay? Because my empire is grand, okay? Yours is minuscule, okay? Look, bitch, I just damaged that word, but y'all know what I'm saying. It is little compared to Candy, all right? And it was just like, humble yourself. It was just going back and forth over nothing. I was just like, shut it up, okay? You're just making yourself look very, very bad. Nene, when she gets called out, she either backpedals or she get real loud and she get defensive when she's trying to defend herself. And it's not really, it's nothing that she needs to defend. All you have to do is admit that you was wrong. That's how you know a bitch is guilty. That's how you know she ain't about shit and she know it. She got to be loud all the goddamn time. And it's like, girl, just say your truth, shut the fuck up, move the fuck on. And then, the question about, Nene being, no, Kenya saying that she's the new queen bee on the stage or whatever. And Nene wasn't having it. Nene tried to, just put her down and all that shit. And we already know how that went. After a certain moment, after the first 30 minutes, Kenya was sitting up there with her face like this. I was like, damn, somebody get her a tissue. I kind of felt a little bad for Kenya, but you do all this shit. And, with the reunion show, this is where you get called out for. Don't say all of it and then not be prepared to, people to throw that shit back up in your face. Be able to handle it. I will say Kenya did kind of hold herself a little well, but, they went the fuck in. And it all started really at this point right here in this reunion show when, they looked at, they gave us this filler shit. They could have cut this shit out. We don't give a fuck about Cynthia. We don't. We really don't. We get more shits about the husband than we do about Cynthia. Miss Peaches. Yes, Peter. Yes. Why is Soulja Boy on that song? Yes, bitch. Yes. You don't know how gay you sound. Okay? Come on now. I could have did without him on that song. I like the song. But, that Nicki Minaj, yes, bitch. I would have rather her be on the chorus saying, yes, bitch, yes, instead of Soulja Boy. You make me wonder, But anyway, we're gonna get back onto track. And Cynthia was just like, we don't, okay, the thyroids is fine, you know. She should speak up more to her husband. You know, she's kind of, if you ask me the questions that they was asking about Peter and how come she don't speak up that much and they got poor communications, you can't tell me that Cynthia is not scared of Peter at some points. You can't tell me that because she just, the way she let him walk over her and let him speak. Like, she's scared to speak up and tell him, baby, calm down, shut up. You know, you don't need to be in his business. She won't do that. And then, oh, he's his own man. He's a grown man, and he's very opinionated. You can't put him in his place and think that, you know, he's not gonna say anything. Why have him there? Granted, I agree with you, but come on, you can reel it in. You can reel it in and say, baby, not now. You can talk about this stuff before. Like, this is what's gonna happen. You need to just shh a little bit, okay? Just let the girls talk. She can't do that. She's scared of her husband. And that's all I'm going to say on that one. Who gives a fuck about their sex life? I really don't. We're going to move on. Because at this moment, they start talking about Phaedra. And they went through her whole timeline about her being a mama, having all these jobs, being tired and all this stuff and yada, yada, yada. And who comes out on the stage after all this? We got Apollo sitting out there with his jeans and everybody else is looking nice. Okay, I don't know if he had on jeans or slacks. All slacks. I just know he had on a damn graphic t-shirt. And I'm sitting here like, with a suit jacket on. I'm sitting here like, are you serious? Are you serious? And they're going to take the suit jacket off and he just yarning and putting his arms over and leaning back. Half of the time that he was on this stage, he was sitting up there like he was at home in his lazy boy, just chilling, finna scratch his navel and drink a beer. I'm sitting here like, damn, Apollo, what the fuck? He was like, he ain't had no fucking worries. But was it me? Or did it just seems like at certain points, their whole relationship, Phaedra and Apollo's relationship, something about it is not right. It just seemed very inauthentic, and I really saw it at this moment on this reunion show. And it seemed as if they were really, really holding back, or at least Phaedra was holding back about some things. They asked Apollo about, you know, the court stuff, and you know, he was basically like he ain't got no worries and all this stuff and everything's good. And then they're talking about Apollo in his case. He flipped that shit and said, but let me tell you this, that one over there should be worried. I said, who you talking about? Kenya. And then he proceeds to read the shit out of Kenya. You, for your sake, better hope I don't go to jail. Now, the way he said that was like he threatening a nigga, like, you better hope for your motherfucking sake I don't go to jail because I'm going to whoop your motherfucking ass, bitch. I'm going to shoot. I was sitting here like, damn, Apollo, calm down a little bit. But what he said was, if it wasn't for me, I made you relevant. I gave you a storyline because on all these goddamn scenes, you're talking about me. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't even need to be on this goddamn show. You need me for your next storyline in the next season and all this shit. So you better hope I don't go to jail because my name been in your mouth on every scene and all this shit. I said, Apollo, simmer down, son. Simmer down. Like, he came out there like he really had a point to prove. And even though I was here for it a little bit, I was still like, Apollo, them little idle threats or whatever the fuck you was doing, calm the fuck down. It didn't even need to be said. I mean, yeah, Kenya got and was. I said, well, you did have a point. She did have your name all up in her mouth, and they even talked about that as to why she didn't come over and talk to all three of them together. And she was like, well, you know, Phaedra got an issue with her. Why would I talk to somebody who's not trying to listen or whatever? And Phaedra was like, this shit been going on since 2012. It's 2014, and we still going over this. Why are you still trying to do this stuff? Phaedra was just, and Phaedra, oh my God. If anybody can put down in the comments that motherfucking read that Phaedra did to damn Kenya. Had Kenya sitting there on that stage like this. Like she shitted on herself. When I say Phaedra read Kenya down, Phaedra read Kenya down. And I said, well, damn, Phaedra, you didn't have to do her like that. You didn't have to do her like that, baby. It just felt like it was too much. And a little bit, if you ask me, it felt like Apollo and Phaedra kind of strategized before they got out there and said, this is what we're going to do, but we're going to tag team the fuck out of this hoe. And that's exactly what the fuck they did. And I was just like, oh, my Lord. This is just a little bit too much. It was funny, though. It was funny as hell because I was sitting there like, no. They started talking about the text message between, that text message again. And then Apollo said 2 weeks ago that he got another text or something, with her trying to apologize or whatever, still trying to hit her up. He talking about something, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have no credit and all this shit. And then next thing you know, Phaedra goes into that read that had me just like, what the fuck? She literally said, bitch, while I'm sitting here doing this and with my life and my jobs, and you're over there sitting there spending your weekend going to sperm banks and getting donors and shit, and you don't even know if your donor is a child molester or killer. And but all we know is that he spent $10 to jag off in the cup just so he could get $10 and get some pizza. Bitch, you didn't have to do her like that. You didn't have to do that like that. So the husbands come out there. Then Peter, they do this segment about Peter and him always being involved in the women business. And he was like, okay, y'all want to say I'm a bitch or I'm acting like a little bitch or whatever because I'm in a business. And here you go. He took out a peach and bit into it. And I was like, well, first of all, Kenya, that's how you do props. Second of all, I was like, yes, Peter, snap, snap, snaps. Candy was like, so you the new housewife now? And it was just hilarious the way that it all went down. He was like, when I get bitchy, just call me Miss Peaches, okay? That's what Peter wants y'all to call him. Call him Peaches, boo. And it was just funny. But he was like, he was like, I got 4 baby mamas. And all these kids and shit, and I ain't never gonna call no woman no bitch. That's not what I do. And I was like, okay, I can respect you on that. And she was like, the shit that goes down with that went down between the relationship between Cynthia and Nene. Cynthia basically just felt like that she wasn't giving the proper apology and that friendship was strong enough to do that, and she just didn't feel respected and all that. And it's been 6 weeks since he heard anything about, Nene or whatever. The house been kind of quiet, and that's a good thing because they used to talk like 10 to 15 times a day. How the fuck do you talk to somebody 10 to 15 times a day? The fuck are you on the phone talking about? I really want to know. Or is this text messages included? Because something just like, I couldn't. Do y'all talk to y'all friends like that 10 to 15 times a day? Like, what's the limit? Come something, no. That's too much attention. But he was feeling himself on that, and he, I guess, had a right. And they was asking Nene about it, and no, he was like, since Nene got the biggest mouth out here, I said, yeah, call her ass out. They asking Greg about the bitch word, and he was like, well, what people misconstrued is that she never really called him a bitch, just saying that he was acting like a bitch. I mean, there's a slight difference, but still the word bitch was put out there. They gonna ask Candy, if somebody would have called Todd a bitch, how would she ask? Candy was like, you already know. You already know. Now, you already said you don't condone my actions that I would have took, so there you go. There go your answers. We already know. Candy don't play about her man. She would have fucked somebody up. We saw the slumber party, and that's what they talked about. They talked about that too, and the same thing about who instigated was Nene on some stuff. Kenya trying to say that Nene, before she got there, while she was getting mic'd up, Nene was going off being real loud, talking about some, oh, y'all know why this bitch late. Y'all making this bitch late for real so she can try to take the spot and be Queen Bee and all this shit and yada, yada, yada. They asked the cast if they hear this tirade. Nobody confirmed it. Now, if it was really true, I really do think Candy would have said yes, and Candy didn't say yes because, Candy ain't scared of fucking Nene. But, I don't know. They start talking about the Christopher Williams grabbing Kenya. And I'm just tired of talking about that whole situation. Do I think he should have got up and put his hands on her? No. Do I think Kenya charged at his wife? No, she wasn't charged. And she claims, on the other hand, I don't know what her motives was to get up, but she claimed it was just to get up and go over there and talk to her so the girl could stop screaming across the room. Do I believe that? Not necessarily. But hey, we're just going to flow with it, roll with it. And then all of a sudden, Phaedra was like, but weren't you getting mad because weren't you sleeping with him? Wasn't you sleeping with him? Huh? Ain't that the reason why you was mad? Weren't you sleeping with him? And here go Greg. Oh my. Oh my. That shit was so damn funny. But Kenya Boo, just let it go. Nene, let that shit go. I was just so over it. This review, it just feels like it's all over the place because that's how this reunion felt. It was too damn long for me. Like, and they weren't talking about nothing. Nene will forever be fucking Nene. She has not learned anything from this whole review. Well, hopefully after seeing this replay and watching it at home, she changes a little bit. Like, humble your attitude a little bit more. Same thing with Kenya. You know, I don't know if Kenya's coming back because at one point, you know, she was talking about she don't want to fuck with like people like Phaedra and Apollo or whatever. And Andy asked, was she coming back? So does this mean that she coming back? I think Kenya coming back. Now, I don't know if Cynthia coming back. I wouldn't care if she comes back or not. Actually, I don't care if nobody comes back or not. I heard that Sheree's supposed to be coming back. We shall see, because we need some new drama. The shit is stale as fuck. And that was basically it, because they showed some old clips that we did not see of the slumber party, and I don't even feel the need to talk about it, and I'm tired of talking about this shit, so it is what it is. Before I end this video, because I'm finna go and watch the 30-minute segment, and I'll talk about that in another video with Portia. I'll probably put it with the Married to Medicine if I feel like it, because I feel like this video is long enough, but I just got it because this is still Real Housewives of Atlanta. Portia put out the video for Flatline. Shut up. Shh. Shh. Hold on. My question is this. So, I'm pretty sure that the video was trying to depict her relationship between her and Cordell. And I guess by getting this old-ass man who look old as fuck. Now, see, Cordell, he did not look... We know he older, but he never looked that old to me to be like older than Portia. I literally thought they was like, he was probably like a couple of years or so older than her, at the most 5. But in the video, it literally looked like she was going with an old ass grandpa to me. That's what it seemed like. And she tried to put out there in the video that he was abusive, he was controlling, and then she played out the part where, you know, she, I guess, found out about him divorcing her on internet. I just had an issue with the guy just being so damn old. I was like, what is this iMovie ass video? What the hell is going on? It was just, girl, I'm tired of it. Flatline. It flatlined for me. It was okay, but it wasn't all that. Nice try, Portia. Nice try, I guess. You gonna continue with this? Like, girl, you better continue on the struggle, because we ain't. I'm just saying. I'll see y'all later. Tell me y'all honest opinion. How y'all feel about it. Let me just wrap this. This part 3. Kenya had some shots in there. And Kenya got red throughout the whole thing. Kenya needed a Sunday Carter on her side to just take up for her at some points, because between Apollo and Phaedra and Nene trying to go for her throat, she kind of held herself a little bit when she was going against Nene. But when that came to that Phaedra and shit, bitch, no. She just kind of just sat down, was looking at her phone like, bitch, please. She was over it. You know, I felt a little bit bad, but you know, what you put out, you got to be prepared for what's going to come back to you. And therefore, there go your consequences. Nene, humble yourself. Candy, keep doing what you're doing. Congratulations on your wedding. I can't wait to see that wedding special, because Mama Joyce is going to do one. I just can't wait till the mamas get into it. They really going to get into it. Ty mama and her mama. They asked him about the opportunity shit too. Girl, who cares? Cynthia, girl, bye. You wasn't needed. Who else? Phaedra, you lying somewhere in there. Please be real. because I'm not getting the realness from you, and I really want the realness, and it's not coming out. And everybody else, I don't care. Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm so glad this shit is over with. Y'all tell me how y'all feel about it. Peace.